So I've got some time here this Saturday evening to get something done on the bus. It's still a little too wet out to do the roof painting that I had planned, although I'm going to pop up there on the ladder and take a peek and make sure that it got rinsed really well. But I think what I'm going to do is keep priming and painting the walls on the inside with the roller. Could be interesting. I got a lot of clutter in there right now to kind of organize so I can walk around, but anyhow, that's what I'm up to. Well, I'll tell you what, after the rain rinsed it off, this looks pretty darn clean. Even has a nice shine to it in the light, so I think that'll be pretty much ready to paint once I have a nice clear day to do so. So in the process of cleaning up, what I got done here in the little bit of time I had this evening was to wire all 3 fans. It's really nice to have them sucking the heat out. It was pretty hot when I got here. And I put a lip on this side of the access door. In the process, I poked my finger with my Phillips bit on my screw gun. But I put a lip under here to hold this side, and then I dropped it back in place. I kept kind of falling into the hole I had created for storage. I've got a number of bins in there right now. I left the painting bin out because I'm going to be using that tomorrow when I paint the walls. But I'm just trying to clean up in here right now so that I can actually get to the walls to paint them. So I intend to put a coat of primer on this front half, and then I'll start painting real paint in the back. Alright, I'm back at the bus, and I've got about an hour and a half here on Father's Day. I'm going to get these walls painted. I actually had the fans going in here for a little bit, and it's actually helping cool it off quite well. So anyhow, I'm ready to get started with the paint here. Alright, so I got this wall coated with the painted with a coat of PVA primer. And now I'm going to switch to the other wall on this side here. So at this point I've got a single coat of primer and paint in one. I ran out of the PVA primer. Switched to this Valspar here. But that's actually going to be the top coat anyway. So I've got that side and this side painted with the first coat. So I think my next order of business here will be to tidy up a bit, and then I'm going to be able to start in that corner there and put the electrical battery bank in place. It's got a compression rack that I built to hold the cells in compression. So anyhow, tidying up would be the first order of business. It's pretty chaotic in here. Okay, so I have hardly any battery left because I didn't check my phone. It's getting late in the evening here, but the weather's perfect for painting the roof. And Maddie over here is going to help me. So we're going to get started from the back to the front, painting the roof, and it should be pretty quick. So I won't be able to film this process, but I'll take a shot when it's done. Just because I was not charging my phone properly today. That's it. Well, I came back the next morning and this crap happened. This does not make me happy at all. That'll be fun to sand off later. Let's go up the ladder and see just how screwed this is. Wow. I don't know what the hell happened. There was no rain last night. This is really disappointing. Ridiculous. Okay, so I'm back at the bus here. This is really extremely frustrating. I'm going to try to get up and put another coat of paint on here. Hopefully it won't drain off the side like this one did. Hopefully this will stick. I'm going to try to put it on more light. I'll hopefully not get a bunch more lines running down the side of the bus, although at this point it's going to be plenty of sanding anyway, so I guess it won't make that much difference. But I'd like some of it to stick to the roof so I can have a cool roof. So I'm going to try to put more of this paint on. Unless I'm just stupid and don't know how to apply it, I'm not recommending this. Okay, so this may have been my fault actually. I'm not going to paint right now. It's approaching nighttime. Apparently you're supposed to start painting this in the morning on a warm day, not to exceed 100-degree surface temperature, but start painting in the morning on a dry day, which, I mean, honestly, it's kind of a pain in the butt. It should dry overnight, honestly, if it's not raining, but that's what the directions say, and I didn't read that part, so that fiasco may be my fault. But had I known, I would not have bought this product. The paint should stick enough not to fall off the roof. So, anyhow, I'm going to get started painting inside instead, just doing the walls. I'll wait for a different day to paint this. Alright, so we got a coat of satin paint here on all the walls on the sides. And I plan to do one more coat. After that will be pretty good. I think one of the next things I might do is install the sink on this side. I need to build a wall to separate the electrical area against the side of the sink. And before that I need to put a little bit of flooring down on this side so that the sink supports can rest on that. And I'll be working on the hatch there in the middle where all the junk is right now. Below that I'll be working on the hatch and supports there. So my ceiling fans, all three of them are running. It's nice to get a little bit of air flowing in here while working. Definitely helps. So that might be it for the evening. Okay, so I'm putting the first little bit of flooring down here. This will be under the sink. I'm going to go ahead and screw this first row down. That way when I lift this hatch, I'm able to actually glue the pieces to it and screw from the back side and have it line up properly with this wall. So the screws will kind of be hidden. I'm going to countersink them anyway, but that'll be our first row of flooring. Alright, so I'm using this electric 18-gauge finish nailer to hit the tongue side of these boards. I have not started using the wood glue yet. I'll do that on this next course. I'll glue the groove side and put some glue on the bottom of the board, and then I'll nail the tongue side and get them positioned. So I don't think I'm gonna try not to have to do cuts tonight, but I will want to finish the end. I just want to first get enough of this on that I can lay the batteries in position with their with the battery compression rack that I built. So that's what I'm trying to do right now, is just get enough flooring down for that and to get the sink mounted. Okay, so I got the second row glued and nailed in place. This electric nailer is working so slick. Sinks them perfectly. So these are 1.25" 18-gauge wire nails. So I'll have to dust this one off. It looks like it's got a little bit of stuff on it, but anyhow, I'm going to keep going here. Alright, there's some progress on the floorboards here for under the sink area and where the battery bank is going to be laid. So I think it looks pretty good. I'm liking this. It's pretty easy to put down, especially with this nailer. It's sinking the nails perfectly right in the tongue without splitting anything. So it's really a nice way to do it. So anyhow, I'm going to continue, and I think once I have this section pretty much done, I'm not able to run a saw, so I won't be able to get this last piece in, I don't believe. You know, I've got to actually make a cut so that there's no tongue or groove where the hatches are going to meet. And I believe the center hatch will have a little bit of overlap on this hatch right here. So, and I still have to cut the trap doors in the center hatch, or the access doors. But this will allow me to at least get the battery bank laid out in its rack and start getting the sink backsplash and everything built and getting the sink mounted. So that's essential to be able to do plumbing. So everything's kind of interdependent, as I've mentioned before. So I think that looks pretty good considering I've never done this before. I do have one tiny little gap that's a little bit wide over here, but it won't be noticed. It'll be under the sink and sort of under rollout shelf units that I'm going to be making on casters under the sink. They'll have cutting boards on the top and storage in the middle, but you'll be able to pull those out, and then they'll just kind of lock in place, probably with eye hooks or something, or with slide bars. I'm not sure how I'll secure them, but that's what I'm planning on doing for storage under there. That'll give us extra counter space, cutting board space. So anyhow, right now I'm going to set up the battery bank, my lithium iron phosphate battery bank right here, using that compression rig that I've put together, and kind of see how it fits. So that'll be good. I'm actually going to use these signs as insulators between the batteries. Alright, so here are the 16 lithium iron phosphate cells. I've just got them loosely set up here. I'm going to measure some plastic PEX to cover these all threads, and we'll get these signs put in as insulators. The wrapping here on the cells actually is an insulator, but it's thin, could rub in vibration from the road, so I'm going to extra insulate them with the plastic pieces here. They'll be folded, and I'll cut a notch to kind of fit the size of the cell. And then the 6 all threads are designed to compress the pack, because the manufacturer says you get about an extra 1,000 cycles out of these if you put the cells under compression, so that as they charge and discharge, the cells have something to push against to prevent swelling. So this pack will provide about 14,000 watt hours. It's a 48 volt battery I'm going to build here, quite sizable. Probably about twice as much as I've seen anybody else put in a bus as far as capacity goes. These have come way down in price. I got these from Shenzhen Basin Technology on Alibaba. Took about a month and a half, 2 months for the freight to arrive. I top balanced these, so I'm going to be putting a battery management system on them. And then the first thing I'm going to do is connect the Genetry inverter to outside power, with the battery bank here being charged from outside power, and then we'll feed power up into the box here. This box actually will get fed from the inverter. This box will get fed from the shore power line or generator, and it'll have its own separate outlet to be used outside of the battery system, but it will have breakers for the shore power going to the inverter. The inverter is sitting over on the couch area right now, just waiting to be installed. I believe I'm going to mount the inverter hanging on the wall here, or on the wall that I'm going to build. That's probably more likely on the wall that I'm going to build beside the sink. So to be determined. It could actually get set on top of this pack as well. Toying with the idea of turning this pack 90 degrees. I've got to take some measurements once I have it compressed, and I may spin it 90 degrees so that it's going to allow more room for the sink there. But anyhow, getting the floor down was really to do this and get the sink installed. And before leaving, I set that board on top of the terminals just to act as an insulator. If you arc these, it could be pretty bad, certainly a fire hazard. Alright, so I'm getting back at it here on this tragic first paint job. Reading the directions, it says paint it during the early part of the day when the sun is warm, but when the roof is not more than 100 degrees. Might be pushing it today with the 100-degree thing. So I'm going to start putting paint on. Hopefully it sticks this time and doesn't run down the side of the bus. Okay, so I've got one coat here on this side. I think I'm going to do the other side, and then I'll do the center from the middle of the roof. Hopefully this stuff actually sticks. The conditions couldn't be any better. Okay, so starting on this side here, making some progress. It's going fairly quick. I think it'll take 2, maybe 3 coats by the time I'm done here, but don't know if I have enough paint for 3 coats, but hopefully 2 coats will look good when it's done. You can see it's kind of, I don't know if you can see in the view here, but it's not really covering super well. You still see some shadows from what's underneath. So definitely need to. So I got the first coat on this other side. Now I'm gonna get up on the roof here and do the center. And then I'll be back for a second coat on the other side and so on. Hopefully it's dry enough for a second coat to stick. Alright, so I'm up here. I'm going to get the center. You know, I can actually tell a huge temperature difference between the white and the yellow. So this paint should be pretty effective for keeping the bus cool. I have no problem just putting my bare skin on the white spots, but the yellow is pretty hot. So I guess it's worth all this pain. Okay, so I'm about halfway done with the center here on the roof. I'm also putting some more paint on the sides from this angle. Starting to look pretty good. Got to get some more paint in the pan here, so I'm going to head down. Okie dokie, so I got the center and a little bit more on the sides. Now I'm going to start over here again, do one more lap around, and that'll be almost like 2 coats. I'll put probably another coat on after this dries, and then I think the roof will be done. Something to think about, I might want to put my clip-on shades on my glasses because I'm starting to feel blind from all the reflected light. So this stuff definitely works to cool and definitely shoots the light right in your eyes. So maybe think about putting sunglasses on when you're doing this job. Okay, so we've got 1.5 to 2 coats here on the roof. It's starting to actually look pretty good. I've got enough paint to do a 3rd coat here. After this stuff dries, I'll come out and on another sunny day here, get the other coat on. At that point it ought to be nice and thick. This stuff, in addition to cooling off inside of the bus, will most likely seal any and all of the possible leaks here with the rivets and seams and so on and so forth. So that's the other reason to use this paint and go through what I went through with the drips. So anyway, save the trouble. Don't paint this stuff at night. That was a bad idea. So what I'm going to do right now is actually quickly organize the space. I've got these totes that go below the floor that I'm using right now for the building materials. I'm going to try to get them back below this floor section. And then I'm going to work in this other section. And I'm going to cut 2 access doors, and I'm going to reinforce, just like I did with the long pieces of wood here. I'm going to reinforce the sides of this section to strengthen the floor, keep it from bouncing, etc. But obviously I've got too much clutter in here to work, so some of the stuff may go actually over to the pavilion, like that wiring I don't need immediately. I'm going to take it over and so on. But yeah, just too much chaos going in here. I actually did just set some of the trim pieces in place there. I haven't screwed them in. I'm going to be putting, here's an idea that might be unique, I don't know. Before I screw these in place, I'm going to cut pieces of steel, maybe just an inch overlap here, so that I'll have something to put a magnetic curtain, so to speak, over these to keep light from coming in if we want it dark in here. So that's something I'm going to be doing. I'll actually need to trim these plates just a little bit, or these trim pieces a little bit. They're gapped a little too much, but I just shoved them in there to see where they were at this point. So probably trim them like a 1/4 inch off of them. But I'm going to cut, like I said, steel to go around the perimeter of these and paint that steel white. Just have something to magnetically attach to. So anyway, I know this is a lot of different potpourri of stuff right now, so it's just the way it goes when building. I'm bouncing around from task to task. The roof will need 1 more coat of paint, but I'd like to make progress in here and get the sink mounted and do plumbing and electrical, and I've got, you know, just 5 things going at once. So anyway, right now, clean up. Alright, so I'm making some good progress tidying up. Got the bins organizing by category here, so a few more minutes and I'll be able to actually cut some wood and do some real work. So I have the floor opened up here in the kitchen area of the bus, and I've got to cut 2 boards 11 3/8 wide for the length. I need to measure the length actually, but these will be the side supports just like we did in the other hatch on a prior video. The water tanks are blocked in right there. This is just so we can put storage in and keep things kind of neat and tidy and take any squeak out of the floors. So these side supports will go down onto those 2x4s and get screwed into the wood right there, and then I'll kind of screw them in at an angle from this side at the bottom. So anyhow, I'm going to take the length measurement, and then I'm going to go make some cuts with the circular saw. So I cut these two boards, and I've got them screwed in from the top and at the bottom into those 2x4s that I showed you in the last clip. So this will form a nice storage area, mostly for our dry goods. Probably do some additional bins like that for canned goods, dry goods, etc. Stuff we use more routinely. I think we use this up here for more longer term storage. Put only one door there. I'm going to do two doors here to make it a little easier to open them. So anyhow, that's it for the evening. It's been a long day working, and it's been a pretty hot day. But once again, these ceiling fans are helping, so that's good news. Anyhow, that's it for tonight. Back at the bus, I'm going to use the rest of that paint and put the final coat here on the roof. Might be a coat and a half, 2 coats, I don't know, till I run out. So anyhow, I'm going to get at it. Back up on the roof yet again. I'm going to put the final paint down here, starting with the center row and out a little bit again. The coverage on these support rails could be a little better, so I'll hit those extra heavy. So anyway, I'm going to use up the paint and get her going here. Alright, so I got, except for this very front panel here, I've got paint on the roof from the center. That'll be the final coat on the top. And I think it's 25% sweat that I painted, because I kept dripping over the pan here. It is hot, hot, hot. So at this point, I'm going to get this front panel. I ran out of paint. I'm going to coat the front panel with a little more paint and then go on the sides. And that should, I think, pretty much use up the paint. And that'll be like 2.5, 3 coats worth of paint, depending on which spot we're talking about. Okie dokie. It's actually looking like really good coverage on this final coat on the side here. So I'm going to keep rolling down. Got half of this side to do, and then the other side. That ought to be just enough paint to do it. There's a little dribble left in the bucket. And I'm about halfway done with this other side. It's looking pretty darn good. So looks like about almost 3 coats of this really is what's needed to make it look nice. So plan on that when you're using this acrylic elastomeric roof coating, at least this Blackjack brand. So anyhow, it's been a lot of work, a lot of heat. Glad I have some cloud cover at the moment, so I'm going to try to finish up before the blazing sun gets me again. And here's the finished product of the completed roof here in terms of the painting. So I think in addition to the fact that the bus is already much cooler inside, noticeably cooler, it's satisfactory here, even though we're going to shade it with solar panels, to know that this stuff seals all the leaks in the roof for sure. So I feel good about going through this process, even though I screwed up initially and didn't follow directions. So definitely paint this on a warm day, starting in the early part of the day. Let the sun cure it, and you'll be happy. Don't do what I did and paint at night and drip all over your bus or RV. So anyway, all is well that ends well. I'll be able to sand off the streaks when I go to do the final paint. But that's the other thing. Go top down as you paint so that you're not ruining the work that you did before with accidents. So I'll still be able to sand and do final paint on the sides and front. So this part that's yellow is going to be silver, which will be the top color of the bus, like a metallic gray silver kind of color. The bottom will be a burgundy, hopefully with metallic flake, but maybe not, depending on what I can do. I got to talk to some paint experts. Using tractor paint though for the cost effectiveness, I'm not going to get an automotive quality paint job regardless, but I really don't care about impressing anybody. This bus is all about my wife and I enjoying our time, and it's not about what people think. So Anyhow, happy with the roof result here. It looks pretty good, and it's definitely thick enough nothing's going to leak. And like I said, it's already cooler inside the bus, so success. So what I'm doing next here is building the bedroom platform. I'm going to make it like 30 or 32 inches wide, spanning this distance here. I'm going to put another wooden support underneath of it, and then I'm going to put some cross members in. Cross supports made of both 3/4 plywood or 3/4 OSB combined with some 2x material. And then I'm going to string 2x's in the middle going all the way across here. So it'll be 2 long pieces, one here, one at the end, and then shorter segments joining a cross support coming off of each of the wheel wells. I'm going to rivet the cross supports into the wheel wells to make sure they're good and secure. And I'll be putting some construction adhesive on the wheel wells where there's like little nail holes, like you see that one there. Just to make sure it's waterproof. Eventually I'll be putting insulation board on those and framing them in probably with 1/4 or some lightweight plywood. So I'm trying to use what I have since plywood's so expensive right now, but anyhow, that's what I'm going to do right now. Get this woodwork done in the back here to build the platform. And then right in where I'm standing there's going to be a step. There'll be a step up right at the edge of the door here, and then one more step up, and then the third step will be up onto the bedroom platform. So the top of that will be just about 23, and something like 23 inches and change, somewhere in there. So off of where I'm standing anyway, so that'll be 3 steps up, 3 times 8 inch. Well, not really, because the first step's going to be a platform all the way over to the kitchen area, so really it's 2 steps, but from where I'm standing right now, it's 3. So I've got these pieces cut here to start framing in the floor platform for the bedroom area. And what I'm going to do is rivet them into the wheel wells on the side with the same rivets that I used to fasten the wall panels. I have some of those left over. So I'm going to drill a couple holes for each, just to kind of brace these against the wheel wells, and from there I'll be able to put in a 2x4 cross support across over here, and once that's in position, then I'm going to put some other cross supports in. I'll run some wood along the channel here, and then I'll screw pieces going in this way. So we'll have 1, 2, 3 different rows of 2x material, and then these center supports. And I've got to figure out how much relief I need for dropping a few steps down into this grotto, gaming grotto I'm calling this. This will become a couch under the bed, and we'll have dual gaming monitors back here for my wife and I to play games together, or watch, shows of interest, or YouTube videos individually or whatever. But anyhow, that's the idea. Also, this would be cool for grandkids to be able to play video games, especially multiplayer games. The whole family's kind of into video games, at least most of us. I'm less into it than others, but anyhow, so I'm going to get these riveted in place, and I'm going to cut a 2x for the cross bracing here. I may need to shim or cut some of this off on this side. I've got to see the level. It's kind of difficult because of the patching work around the wheel wells. It changed the floor level slightly, so I'm going to trust actually these cuts that I just made more than anything else, because where they're sitting was minimally affected by the patchwork. So that'll be what I go off of, is actually the dimensions of these 2 pieces I just cut. Okay, so I've caulked and popped these rivets into the wheel well. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side here and get this put in place. And now that side's riveted to the wheel well with caulk. So I think the next step here is to cut this other 2x for this side, and then from there I'll start cutting center pieces to brace the middles here. I'm actually thinking through this a little bit. What I may want to do is leave this intact like that. Instead of cutting the staircase here, I'll do maybe a big deep storage well here for clothing bins or whatever. And then in here I'll do a step down with storage. And then maybe one more step down that's actually going to go all the way to the couch. That would be kind of an interesting way to do it. So I think I'm going to keep this simple and make this platform rectangular with extra support here. And then I'll be able to put some cross bracing in, or some up-down bracing anyway, 2x material in this gap here. And that'll be nice and sturdy. And then I'll create some cross bracing over here on the wheel well. And then over here, I'll have to create some cross bracing, one here and one here, but have a storage compartment with another hatch, or have it accessible. That's what I'll do. I'll make these stairs removable. I'll have this accessible from this space here and just keep the floor design simple. So I'll use just 2x3, and I'll put the supports in from that beam over to this beam, or that 2x to this one, and in that way it'll be pretty good. So anyway, I'm going to measure what the distance should be here. It should match the width of these pieces all the way across, and then I'm going to cut the 2x material accordingly. Okay, so here's the result so far. I'll be putting additional cross bracing in right here and right in there. I'll leave just enough of a hatch to get tubs in and out. So anyhow, probably a little more cross bracing on these sides too. This side will be hooked into the steps that I build. Be some additional storage. Down here there's going to be insulation, but there'll be additional storage here for the wheel well. So anyhow, I'm going to keep at it here for a little bit longer, and then I'm going to head home. Okie dokie, so I've got this platform structure kind of mostly framed in here. I'm sweating like a pig. It's got to be in the mid-80s in the bus with high humidity. I bought a thermometer today, set it in the bus. I haven't checked it yet, but it's still very muggy. It was in the 90s today here in western PA. And if you know anything about this part of the world, it's very humid heat. So almost as bad as the south, but not quite. So anyhow, progress. I got a good bit built for a short couple hours of work here.